Welcome, everybody, this week to the Damage Per Second podcast. I'm your host, Justin, and I'm here with Brett and Keith, my co-hosts with the co-mosts.
That's me.
That's Brett.
It's me, Colicchio.
Oh, Lord. I immediately was killed by this person.
Killed. Can't wait to see it on the
Dude,
stream.
I missed so many times. It's actually unbelievable. What an intro.
I just ran up there with my axe out, and he killed me, so that was also my own fault.
I just watched it on the stream. It looked like you hit him a million times, Brett, to be completely honest.
Yeah, from my perspective, it looked like
anything.
you were...
I don't know.
Like you were moitering him.
Just finished.
Over it.
Perfect. You have to wait for me now.
We're waiting. It's cool.
Hi,
so
I'm Brett.
Yep, that's Brett. There was some exciting news. Well, it depends. With StarCraft 2 premium mods. Hooray! Maybe. Now,
Is that good?
well, that's the question. I am semi-ingrained in the StarCraft 2 modding community. For what there is of it, I tend to participate and read their thoughts, and surprisingly, I'd say about 95% plus of the community is behind this. They're tepid about it, but they're like, it doesn't really hurt anybody who was doing stuff anyway, so it's fine. Now, you both, your only experience with it was the Reddit hive mind hating Bethesda because they tried to do this, and
Right.
True.
and by the way, Bethesda is still doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it's like outside of Reddit, this is typically fine, but I do think the Skyrim community has typically been split because of this. So I guess, what are your thoughts? Or I want to revisit this topic because it's being implemented, and again, it seems like the community currently is fine with it. And I was surprised at that.
What's the breakdown? Like, what's the breakdown with StarCraft?
So the breakdown is that they've picked two maps, two creators who have been in the scene for a long time, Pirate and Tia. And everybody knows them. They're very talented individuals. And I guess Blizzard's been working with them, and they're basically using their maps to pilot this. It's a marketplace with only two things in it right now, and it's $4.99. One of the maps already exists, and if you pay the money, then you access like new premium content. But everything that already existed is still free, and I think it's like the top most played map on the StarCraft 2 arcade, which is most likely why they picked it. The other map is created by someone who won the Rock the Cabinet contest in the past. And I don't know enough about the situation on why they may have been picked, so I'm not going to try to make something up. But I assume they've been in contact with Blizzard for whatever reason, and they've made things in the past to prove their chops. So their stuff is going into this premium section, and it's $4.99 each. And again, everything that's already there is still free. Everything in the arcade is still free. The arcade itself is still free to play. So again, is this like, ooh, slippery slope? Or is it like, oh, this doesn't really affect it. This might just bring more people in who just want to get some cash, and that at least will draw more people. I don't know. So again, I'm ingrained in this SC2 community, and I am surprisingly ambivalent. But you know, with the Bethesda thing, I just thought like, wow, these have been free forever, so I don't think this is the right way to go about it. So I kind of want to hear what you guys think, being outside the situation.
I kind of feel like it's on Bethesda to make it right, and well, I don't mean make it right, but I just mean like do it right, I should say. Like just monitoring what gets monetized closely, and not just like letting garbage get. I mean, look at the way that Steam Greenlight went, just because there was so much garbage auto filtered in. It's hard to measure it. But I don't know. Are the campaigns that are out now like really reputable ones?
So the two that they picked are created by two reputable people, and one of them is based on a map that I think is one of the highest played on the arcade. So I think nobody's questioning the opportunity for these to be good, and I think what it seems like is that Blizzard has vetted them, right? It's not like an automatic system. So that's kind of what intrigues me as well. I don't think the community in general, the scene, is large enough for it to really... You know, and for them to not be able to go through and vet these individually. But if it does expand, then I can't imagine them wanting to go through and vet all of them. So nobody knows where this is going. I think this is just a pilot. And again, when Bethesda tried to do this, it blew up in their face. At least in certain segments of the internet, I can't say that like 100% everybody hated it, but I do think that the segmentation that is the Reddit hive mind was like, we hate this 100%, and I was kind of on the fence.
In general, it was a shit show in terms of the public response. So like first we can sort of hash out what are the potential problems, like what are the positives, what are the negatives. The positive is that it'll breathes life into a game that's relatively old at this point. And we could see the quality of the mods go way up, like people are incentivized to make cool stuff. Negatives are that, okay, well, maybe now we're just going to have to pay for stuff that we got for free previously.
Yeah.
Is it a cash grab by Blizzard? And I guess I'd say, like, the other thing is, are we going to see lots of crap, like you were saying, like on Steam Greenlight? Those are the positives and negatives. It's hard for me to say. I'm a little bit ambivalent, just as you said that you were. I think that, I'd like to see, what percentage is Blizzard taking? Did they say that?
No, I doubt that that's public, but if I had to guess, I would assume that the creators would get, if it's $4.99, I would guess that they would get somewhere between 75 cents to $1, and then the rest goes to Blizzard. Again, if I was guessing, but I don't have much credence. No, yeah. I don't have much credibility to know that, but that's what I would guess.
I mean, right off the bat, like you would want to see a lot of it go to the actual content creators, because obviously every positive and negative is tied to that. The more that goes to the content creators, the better the stuff is going to be, and less of a cash grab, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, you want to see, like, in terms of like me, someone who's not actively playing StarCraft, custom maps all the time, that could be like exactly the sort of thing that would potentially bring me back,
Right. Yeah, that's my thought.
For me, it's pretty cool, but I could totally understand if there are a bunch of people that are really involved in the community who've been getting stuff for free. This could just be like a sign that, everything's gonna suck now.
I was thinking about this, and the reason why I think this is not like Bethesda is because Skyrim's modding community was much larger. Now, I'm not saying that the StarCraft 2 arcade does not have a lot of players in it, but what I am saying is those players are typically concentrated around a small subset of maps. So it's hard to make sure that that's specified, to say it's not that the scene is small per se, but that it's very clustered. So what that means is I think there's a huge opportunity for it to grow. Granted, it's 5 to 10 years too late. I'm being shot at. It's like 5 to 8 years too late because the game is 8 years old. But I think it's different than Bethesda again, because that's a much larger scene. And so my concern with that is that you're going to split a very active community, whereas oh no. Whereas I think in the case of StarCraft 2, it's a fairly small. It's funny to say it's a budding community because, again, it's so old at this point. But I don't know. I think in the past it's like, oh, all this stuff is free. I would try this out. In fact, that was not happening. People just didn't go to the arcade. The people that weren't already playing the arcade aren't going there because it's free. What they need to do is if they're like, oh, there's some premium stuff. Oh, look, there's a bunch of other free stuff. I think it's, interestingly enough, the fact that now something is premium and paid will actually get people to at least go and see what's there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, even if the quality didn't increase whatsoever, people would go just to look now.
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't before. They'd just assume, like, I don't care about anything. It's just mods or something. And now they'd be like, oh, there's, like, some legit stuff that I should go check out.
As opposed to Skyrim, where anybody playing Skyrim still in 2018 is playing with mods anyway, always, by default, basically. So yeah. I think that's the main difference. Whereas StarCraft 2, I think this is an interesting gateway to get more players into the arcade. And again, it has a decent amount of players as it is. But I think this is a way to get more people in. So that's why I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, and I think another major difference is that if you look at Skyrim, these mods are like tons of quality of life stuff. They make the graphics dramatically better. They make certain systems dramatically better. They make the UI dramatically better. They just increase features, increase flexibility, increase your options. And so everybody has the same mods. Like if you look at like custom maps, custom campaigns and things like that, not everybody is playing the same things. I mean, some of them are more popular than others, but it's not like, and with the Skyrim mods, it's like any one of these top mods that I don't have is just going to make my experience worse. So like, I might as well get this. I might as well get this thing. Okay, this improves the skybox. This improves the textures. This improves the UI. So if people are thinking, okay, well, everybody has all the same things in Skyrim, these are just the top mods by far, then once they start charging for them, then none of these are going to be free. And that's not exactly the case with StarCraft. There would still be free custom campaigns, things that people don't feel like they need to monetize, and extras. It's not like improvements, like iterative improvements that build on each other.
Right. That's why I think context really matters here. I think it's really easy to compare this, but it highly depends on your game, your genre, and the size of your existing audience. And that's what this has kind of taught me, because for the longest time I thought, I do think mod makers deserve to be at least slightly given some sort of credit in some way, like at least some sort of attention from the publisher, whether it, being able to monetize or not. I don't know. I think that's up for debate. It just depends on what different people think about what deserves to be monetized. I was killed. But at the same time, yeah, it's interesting to see publishers supporting custom content in some way, but the bigger your community, the harder that's going to be. Like, what was Bethesda going to do? Were they actually looking through each of these, or was it automated where people could just take someone else's mod and then remonetize it as part of a separate bundle? That's where I think there are major problems. And I don't think that would happen with StarCraft 2, though it could with certain assets and voices and textures. I don't know. It's intriguing to me.
Yeah.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Like, what about like retroactively? Are people gonna like retroactively monetize stuff?
I don't know. See, that's the thing. Nobody knows yet. So I think I was saying, like, the community's hesitantly in support of it because everybody, not everybody, but most people respect the two people that were chosen for this, for the pilot. If some people deserved it, they would be part of that group. My main concern was that, I hate that this came so late, because I've watched so many mods rise and seem so great and then just die because not enough people even knew they existed. And like the StarCraft oh, nice, Brett. The StarCraft subreddit, or nice, Keith, that was Keith. The StarCraft subreddit is really terrible for helping spread that information. And a lot of it just gets suppressed because of the audience that's there, and there's really nowhere else to best market this kind of stuff. Unless Blizzard themselves do it. So I'm concerned, like, I played StarCraft Universe in the past. I cast this mod called Heptacraft. Like, StarCraft Universe is one of the main ones that comes to mind, because I know Blizzard actively helped that creator in some way. And if they could have monetized it, maybe they could have continued developing. So, I don't know. It's like, it's too late. I feel bad. It's like only the people that held on for dear life for 8 years and have somehow managed to stick around this long are the ones that have an opportunity. And all these other people who made really cool things in the last 8 years, it's like, well, sorry, you did it too early. I don't know. That's my only major negative thought about this whole thing.
I've come around on it. Like, I say go for it, because at this point, and in fact, if they tried to do it with Skyrim at this point, I'd be a lot more receptive. Not as much as I would be for StarCraft, but I'd be a lot more receptive than I would have previously, like when they previously tried to do it. Because at this point, I'm sure it's still quite active, especially compared to most games, but like, it's not as vibrant as like the Skyrim community, modding community used to be. Maybe, I don't know if that's true, but at least for StarCraft, like, unless something changes, it's not going to get more populated. So like, yeah, this is a way for it to become more populated, to like breathe new life into it. And if there's going to be like Blizzard's not going to put out I mean, maybe they are. They're not going to put out more StarCraft 2 games, I assume. They've been really good with what they've done in terms of how involved they've stayed with the community, but like it's not going to get more populated from now on. And this is a way that it can be crowdsourcing it effectively and incentivizing that. So I'm pretty excited to see what people come up with.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited. I'm on the edge of my seat to see how, if and how this gets expanded. So if I guess if they get enough people purchasing this, and I mean, it doesn't seem like a huge investment on Blizzard's end, unless they need to get a bunch of people in to review submitted mods, is how they're going to decide what becomes eligible.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because that's kind of that was my concern with the Skyrim ones, is it gets flooded with crap. They can't wade through it all. People start stealing other people's stuff. People start taking down existing stuff that was free and resubmitting it to monetize it, even though it was free prior. Like, that's the kind of stuff that concerns me.
Yeah, that's legitimate.
I don't know. What do you think, Brett? What were your thoughts on the Bethesda situation when they tried it?
I don't know. I just kind of immediately disregarded it as somebody that wouldn't buy that. I figure there's mods for every version of what they've got anyways. But I think it's a good thing in different communities. I feel like it's just very situational in that regard. And it seems like the StarCraft one's good, but like maybe just too late? Like, is that game gonna last much longer?
I mean, I don't think it's necessarily in a bad place now. It's just not as big as the biggest players, right? I mean, that's a common misconception. Like, what do you think is... It has enough players, I think, to sustain itself, and the arcade itself does as well. It just depends on what what is acceptable to different people. Like, oh no, there aren't enough people playing this game, so I guess I won't play it. Like, there's no queue time or anything like that. It's not like you're waiting to play ever. So I think that's pretty telling.
And that's what I like, is that it would be so easy for Blizzard to go on to like new IP, not necessarily because old IP isn't going anywhere, but like, it would be so easy for them to just move on to something else that they think they could make more money off of, and just let their games get stale. But they don't do that, and that's how their titles become absolutely legendary. You know what I mean? Like, that's where Dota came from.
Well, they didn't want that, but...
Well, yeah, they didn't want that, but it came out of custom games for Warcraft.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy, and that's why stuff like that comes, like crazy, like emergent stuff comes out of Blizzard games and not out of other companies' games. So I think that, we could see something else super, like, I mean, in these like battle royale game types, like, I think we could see something really cool emerging from like new types of games coming out of stuff like this, incentivizing people to make mods in a way that, I don't know if people are doing it. I don't know. Do you know if people are doing it like more than they did back in the Doom days and like Doom and Unreal Tournament? And
Doom is still huge. Doom still has an enormous community.
Yeah.
That's making... I think the Doom modding community is bigger than StarCraft 2, StarCraft, Warcraft. I think Doom is still one of the largest community modding places just ever. It's incredible, actually.
Doom 1?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah, actually, you were talking about something you were recently playing, right? Something Doom. Some mod. I don't remember.
Well, so yeah, we had our
Something
Mapcraft contest, and the person who won one of the games was someone who's part of the Doom modding community. So we talked to him about it, and again, it's like the fact that it's grown and evolved this much over time. Like, I don't know. I think like custom scenes in general, like I don't think there are as many as people like. It's not easy to have a vibrant custom scene. It requires very particular care and a very particular type of game.
Yep.
Like XCOM's got a big modding community, but there are also a ton of games that don't. They just don't have any modding. So it's like, I don't know, some games weren't even built to be supporting of mods, and yet somehow they had a big modding community. It's weird.
Yeah, It is weird. like how to, I mean, it must be something specific to the game type or something like that. But
Yeah.
that's pretty crazy. Like games that were not meant to be modded, ended up, some of them in the past have ended up being like the biggest modded games. And then you have other ones that come out with like tons of modding tools ahead of time, and they really, really want it and plan for it, and it just doesn't happen for whatever reason. But,
Yep.
I mean,
Like Binding of Isaac.
Yeah, they're doing everything that they, StarCraft is doing everything they possibly can to encourage like long-term modding activity, and they don't have to.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that they do.
Well, I mean, to tie it back though, is being able to monetize this stuff an okay idea, or is it bad news? Like, do you think it's a rabbit hole that should not be explored, or do you think it has the potential? And I don't know. Again, I see Bethesda different than StarCraft 2.
Yeah, I can see why people might be wary of it, because it might be, I mean, we've seen the kind of slippery slope thing in the past, and it's not a bad argument. Like, it's a strong argument, because we've seen the same thing happen in the past with loot boxes and things like that, and other microtransactions in general. And when people realize that there's a good way to make money off of their game, I mean, then it just spreads like wildfire, and there's no new game that doesn't have it, or like multiplayer in general, because that in particular, that lends itself to microtransactions. So, but this might work in a different way, because if that does happen, like maybe you're spending a little bit more money or something, but like you could actually see games with more longevity than they used to have. Or you might even see like, I mean, will we hit the point where like mods actually turn into canon or something in these story-driven games like StarCraft? Will they get to a level of quality where Blizzard would be comfortable saying like, yeah, we sanction this. Like, sure, someone wants to make a mission where, I don't know, where like Raynor goes and does such and such, and yeah, we sanction this now. It's part of the canon, because that would be cool.
They have done that in the past with StarCraft 1, and they have like basically denied it. There are these two called StarCraft Insurrection and StarCraft Retribution, and Blizzard basically wrote them for the companies that made them, and they were not good, but it's interesting. Like, they were official add-ons to the game, and they're like, I mean, now today people might ask them, some random person who most people don't even know they exist, and some people will ask like, oh, is this canon? Some of the people who are really into StarCraft lore, they're like, is Insurrection canon? And they'll be like, we're not really sure. And they just try to put it off. Like, I don't think they're ever going to really decide. Not that I think it particularly matters that much. But, I don't know. It's funny. Like, they did do that in the past. And now I think they treat what they see as their narrative IP so exclusively and important that they would no way allow that. But I've played...
They're so protective over it.
Yeah. I mean, I've played one StarCraft 2 campaign in particular where the story was so good that it doesn't even need to be in StarCraft. Like, there's a couple pieces that are related to StarCraft, but you could easily replace them with something else, and it would be a really, really good story. So that's the kind of stuff I would love to see able to be not necessarily monetized, but supported in some way by Blizzard, because the way that the arcade is set up, you can't bundle maps. So remember, like, Warcraft 3, there was a custom campaign menu with buttons and the ability to save progress between each and then unlock missions as you progressed. Yeah. The arcade is all online, though, so unless you're locally caching all of that, and there's no way to bundle it on the arcade. So it's not supported by default, and they just haven't really acknowledged that. And it's clearly popular, considering I managed to create a viewer base out of virtually nothing with no support from the developer. So imagine if they supported it, how many more people would enjoy that? I don't know. It kind of irritates me.
And maybe, I agree. And maybe if it takes off, it will. But I mean, it's just like you're saying, like features that were supported in previous games where now they're like, yeah, we're not going to do that because now it's all online and we're required us to store all this data on our servers. We don't really have it set up to do that and don't feel like doing it.
Yeah.
It's a little annoying because it limits what you can do. I mean, there's no reason why it should be any worse than, some previous Blizzard game was in any regard. But I mean, I think it would be really cool if it got to the point where mods could be sanctioned as canon, but I think it would require some sort of well, I'll say the reason why I think it's cool. I mean, it's no different than things like, the extended universe for like Star Wars or something like that, which was beloved, and part of the reason why that universe feels so rich and like broad. And I think that you could see that with other IPs, but it's because they licensed it out to other authors and people to write. So I don't see any reason why we couldn't do something similar with video games, which, than what we've been doing for years and years with books. So I think that could be really cool, but at the same time, it would require some sort of official review process by Blizzard or whatever company wants to do it. And that's just doesn't seem like something that they're willing to do. If you look at this or Steam Greenlight, they're not interested in getting into a situation where they have to personally sanction everything that gets made. So I don't think we'll see that, but I think it would be really nice.
I think you hit the nail on the head with, again, just like how are they going to decide what counts, for lack of a better term, and like what they'll allow. And if there's just going to be nothing that it's just going to be automated, then I think that's an issue. And that's the problem with the larger the community, the harder this would be. And, it's funny you bring up the old expanded universe, because some of the old expanded universe was terrible. And
Yep.
it went through this process where LucasArts or Lucasfilm or whoever did it, like the official holders of StarCraft Canon, they reviewed all this stuff, and some of it was awful, just terrible. So I mean, I think that that's an excellent response of a real life example where people who want to use that as an excuse to not do it because there's no way to look at everything, is there's plenty of examples where people were touching every single entry and it still turned out bad.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Like on one hand, that could be an argument, hey, not to do it because, here's an example of where, they ended up with some real crap. But at the same time, that didn't take away from any of the really good stuff that came out of it, like beloved, extended universe things.
Yes.
So yeah, it's not, it shouldn't be like a catch-all reason not to do it. There's like a vending machine to your left if you guys want to go to it. Brett and Justin are doing really well. So I'll take this opportunity. I can talk about a couple things like what I've been playing this game. No, I haven't played it. I'm waiting. I asked for my 30th birthday's coming up soon.
What?
Ugh. But so I asked for it for that, and so hopefully I'll get it. It looks real good, and I mean with the review scores that it's getting, I just think like I don't want to get like too excited about it, but I'm hoping that it's like everything I wanted. Like, I hope it's, Brett, do you feel like it's been way too long since we've had a Dark Souls game or like a game in that series?
Yeah.
I know that they made a lot, and like, I know they were talking about wanting to get away from it, but I'm sort of feeling like, oh man, I could play another one. So I'm hoping this will sort of like fill that vibe without being too similar,
Absolutely. It sounds like it's absolutely amazing. So
yeah. So I've watched some of it, and I'm not gonna like spoil. I mean, I don't know anything about the story, but I've just watched some of it, and I think you guys will be pretty happy with the combat at least. It looks like it's very arena based though. So unlike Dark Souls where you're just wandering through the world, I think this is more like there's specific spots where you encounter things and then you fight them in like I don't want to say enclosure, and I haven't watched that much, but what I have seen, it's been him fighting mobs or bosses, but in a particular semi-enclosed area. So it's sort of like scripted fights, but the combat itself, I think you guys will really like.
Ah, cool. Yeah, I'm hoping so. And I just love like, I don't mean to like oversimplify it or make it shallow, but like active dodging and stuff. I find that makes such a difference in the quality of the combat. Like stuff that I had such a hard time putting my finger on for a long time, but like actively dodging attacks just makes the combat seem so much more immersive, and it's like why Horizon feels good to a certain extent, and it's why I don't know, it's partially why I'm excited about God of War, but I'm really excited about that, and if I don't get it for my birthday, I'm just going to buy it for myself, and I'm sure I'll have a lot to say about it when I do.
Yeah, the dodging looks really satisfying, and like you dodge out of the way, and then you can throw your axe and then pull it back to yourself. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll have like, that's the only weapon that I've seen, and there's always like, there's not a ton of weapons. Like in Dark Souls, there's tons of weapons. There's not a ton of weapons in the previous God of War games. It's not to say that they couldn't change that, but like it seems like all of them are obviously pretty special. Like he's not just going to pick up a spear and use it, but they're all like, oh, I'm using Thor's axe, hammer, whatever. I'm using, the Anubis's war blades, fucking whatever. But they're all really unique and creative. So I think that'll be the trade-off is like you'll just have a couple weapons, but they'll all be pretty exciting. So one thing we have played is Jen and I played through Until Dawn. This past week, which is really awesome. Cool. I don't know if you guys have played that game. It's really, really cool.
Sorry, real quick, Brett. They're going to be coming at us from the southeast because of the storm circle.
Oh boy,
this is like the best that I've ever seen any of us do here. So I want them to do well. Like
but yes, I am familiar with Until Dawn.
Holed up in a tower. They're like holed up in a tower with like spike traps and stuff.
Yeah, but it's outside the storm circle now.
No, you're still in it. You're still in it for now.
No, we are, but their big thing is outside.
Yeah. They got to run it. It could be a chance to take them out. So Until Dawn is, just for anybody who doesn't know, is like this. It's really unique. Like you have these story-driven games, like it's a horror game. You have these story-driven games like, your Walking Dead and stuff like that, Telltale games, where your decisions matter, like Decisions Matter in Mass Effect. But it's a horror game, and you may have heard of it, but just not seen any of it. All of your decisions matter, and
God damn it,
everyone can die or nobody can die. Like you can get out with everybody surviving, or no one can survive, and it takes a lot of different like horror movie storylines and things like that, and sort of incorporates a lot of them in interesting ways. And it's really like it has some goofy tropes going on. And they really like steer into like the tropey horror stuff because I mean it's sort of a first of its kind. So I don't totally blame them for having the like two of the characters are gonna go do it and then they get attacked by the villain or something. So I don't totally blame them for that kind of thing. But then they subvert them a little bit later on. And it's just really great. Like it really there's an intensity to it that you don't see in other games like that. Wow. Okay, they just finished their man. They placed 4th. There's 5 people left alive.
I avenged Brett at least, but damn,
that was wild. Well done.
That
was exciting to watch. Man, you just see like this different gameplay that in Fortnite that you don't like near the end of the game that you don't see at the start. And I feel like I have no idea how to do it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, those are the people that last longer because they know how to build better and
shooting grenades and like blowing up people's structures and stuff. Like even just the building of the structures, I'm not very. If left to my own devices for a while, I can do something okay. But yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
So so in Until Dawn, it's like it's cool because like all of your decisions matter and you have to make them frequently, and also because they do a lot of interesting things with like it's a lot of quick time events, like pushing buttons at the right time. But they do a lot of things that I haven't seen before, where like sometimes the best thing is to not shoot or something. Like normally you see a crosshair and you have to get it in time, and you just do it. Like you just go for the crosshair and you try to hit it. But like sometimes it's the wrong thing to do. Like you're supposed to do nothing, and you can totally fuck yourself up and get people killed by like acting when you shouldn't act. You should just like, so you have to know when to like keep a calm head as well. And there's a couple other examples of really unique, like having to stay perfectly still. I haven't seen that. Maybe you guys have, but I haven't seen that before in a game. But like, yeah, you have to stay perfectly still or else you get totally, or you get people killed. So like they have the motion sensitivity in your controller, and you have to like keep it perfectly still or else like the enemy will hear you and find you. And there's a bunch of ways that every single character can die. So I just
That's really
I just had a really good time with it. Without talking about it much more. Like, I think it's a super worth getting. But I played it with Jen, and I think that's a really great way to do it. Is play it with someone else, because you can switch off, and it just makes everything seem so much more intense. But I just feel like I haven't been so engaged in a game, like 100% engaged in a long time.
Oh, that's interesting. Because
Yeah.
I've seen a bit of Until Dawn, and the story actually looked really intriguing too. Because it looks like there's multiple timelines, and you're constantly guessing what's what, which I quite like.
Yeah.
Also,
and
shout out to
definitely
Westworld.
has surprises. Oh shit! Someone at the top of this building.
I don't have a weapon.
Shit.
They're up in the top.
Come to your right, Keith.
No, I have to hide.
Ah, damn it.
All right.
It's all you, Brett.
I'm ready. Oh.
Respect to this person for not like immediately like killing people, but it seemed like they were trying to kill me, so I had to get away.
Yeah. I shouldn't have just run out there. That was my bad.
I at
Nope,
least
it's
wanna
the luck of
ruin
the
this
draw.
co-op session.
I even had a gun, but he got the jump on me. Did
Oh, hello.
Brett, are you alive?
Yes.
you take him out?
There's another one
Oh
up,
my
up
God.
to the left as well. Well, oh, damn it.
Damn. I
Nice.
ran out of ammo.
That's the hardest part in the early game. Like, if you knock someone down, it's better just hit him with your axe.
Yeah, I guess
That's smart. I have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I never thought of that. I thought people were just taunting me when they were doing that.
Brett, what have you been up to these past couple weeks? You said you haven't been gaming too much.
We planned a fun dinner party. That was pretty cool. We like to come up with recipe ideas, me and my friend Nick. So we just kind of like came up with a bunch of things and also some other things. And we invited some people that we don't usually hang out with to like just come and hang out. So I don't know, it's kind of cool.
Nice.
Usually we're just like hanging with our direct circle, so it's nice to step out a little bit and entertain.
Nice.
My God, we cooked on Saturday or Sunday, I guess. Or no, it was Saturday. Sorry, not that it matters that much, but it wasn't the day of the Lord. We were
Phew.
we went shopping and God, we cooked for what felt like 8 hours straight or something. I mean, it was a long time where
Dude, cooking for people is so hard.
yeah, it's a lot of work. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Keeping everything warm, that's like the hardest thing that I didn't think.
Yeah, we fortunately were like, we had a good system of prepping and whatnot because he's worked in a kitchen before and I worked at Papa Gino's, the delivery service place, so that was sort of kitcheny. So yeah, I just told him to like, hey dude, just tell me exactly what I should be doing, and it worked out. So we made some wings with a cranberry sauce reduction thing. I can't really remember what exactly was in that, but I think it was like ginger and stuff. Those were a hit. They were really good. And ribs, pork. We made some like carnita style pork. You know what we did with it? We made the pork in like grapefruit and lime
Holy shit.
and like something else. And then we made some cool sauce that we fried it on a skillet with after we tore it all up, and it kind of got like a little crispy. And then
man,
we
yeah,
put
when
them-
you cook pork and then crisp it up, it's so good.
do you know what else we did? I'll just keep talking this up because I forgot how awesome this was. The pork was. We put them in little like lettuce pockets. Like I don't know what. I think it was like bib lettuce. And we also made an apple slaw that we put on top of it.
Oh.
Man, I
It
saw a
was really
picture of
good.
your ribs on Instagram. They're like freaking awesome.
Oh yeah, those had like a nut thing going on. There was like an almond something puree. I don't know. It was cool. They were really good.
I need to understand
Okay.
how
didn't do a
how
whole
do
lot.
how do I bring myself to enjoy cooking more? Do I just need to try to make more elaborate things and get that sense of payoff? Because I
actually-
dislike cooking.
I actually have to say that it's probably learning basic things to make it a lot easier to do. Because
Okay.
honestly, my issue with cooking and why I do it so seldom is because I'm not good at like cleaning up as you go, which is hugely important. And like having a place to put all of my garbage too. Because like I'll get the cutting board and I start cutting up vegetables and then I have shit everywhere. And then also, I mean, I think just learning the basics of like how to cook certain things well is good too. You know, like how to cook an egg really well, how to, because I mean, just eggs are very versatile and stuff. So if you know how to do a few things with eggs, you kind of like know how to do a lot of different things. Um, and like cutting skills are good to learn too, the basics. You know, I don't know, and also having somebody that also enjoys cooking
There's
with
some
you.
shields, small shields here, and a green assault rifle in there if anybody
Like,
wants it.
does
Thanks.
Tara enjoy cooking?
Oh, she enjoys baking a lot, and I think
Oh,
it's
that's
more for me.
similar.
It's just like the time. I don't know. And
Yeah,
also
it
because we
takes
live in a
time.
place where it's so easy to get really good food just delivered to us. I think it's just made me really
Yeah.
spoiled about it. I think if I was forced to cook more, I would take the time and learn to enjoy
I
it.
don't know.
But
What my friends and I do is we kind of get inspired by the things that we eat out that are really good,
hmm
and we just try to sometimes build upon that or like, emulate it similarly. I don't know.
no,
We keep going to this restaurant that is inspiring us. It's the style. It's like sort of got a bar where you can sit and watch the kitchen and like the head chef and stuff, and
that's
Oh,
cool.
that's cool.
he's like locally well known now because this place is kind of taken off. So it's really cool to go and watch him and sort of talk to him too. And it's like a chef's table style thing, you know. He's like in there every day going hardcore. Like it's really cool. So I don't know. I've found a lot of inspiration in that. But
That's good to
yeah,
know. Again, like I want to. It's an admirable skill, and it's a useful skill as well. And it's like something I would like to be able to do, and I'm willing to put the work in, but I don't have the motivation. I think
yeah.
I could have the discipline, but I don't have that initial spark to be like, yes, I'm willing to take the extra time. I don't know if that's just my circumstances or it's just something you should already have.
I find it helps if I just know I'm feeding somebody else too. It
Okay.
kind of makes me accountable.
Yeah.
So maybe you should just set out to like cook Tara dinner.
Yeah, she would like that.
You know, I don't know. That might help you. Maybe not.
No, I think so. By the way, we're super far away from the thing.
Yeah,
We should
I
start
just
going.
noticed that like just now. And we have 10
Um,
seconds. We're definitely we're not gonna make it.
Yeah, I mean, like we'll try to sort of meet it in the middle where like we'll make one thing and we'll make it so we can eat it for like 4 days or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll make burgers. We'll make 8 burgers,
Holy
or
shit.
something like that. And then it's great, you know. Both of us eat a burger
Whoa.
every night, and for like a couple days, or we'll make a stir fry or something, eat that for a couple days. So that makes it easier, you know. Like if you're doing that, then prepping almost makes it, I don't know, it's like saving time almost if you're
Mhm.
by making meals in that way. If you're someone who gets sick of stuff really easily, then that makes it difficult. But
Yeah.
They call my Double J says hello from Sweden. Hello from North America.
Hi, my double J.
That's good to keep in mind then.
Yeah, cooking's fun. I mean, also fun gadgets are good to have too. Those that make it easier to cook. You know, there's just like gadgets to streamline certain
all right,
things.
name your top kitchen gadgets.
Of I don't
KitchenAid.
know.
KitchenAid mixer.
KitchenAid's
KitchenAid
awesome.
stand mixer.
Real good.
Immersion blenders are really sweet for like making
Yeah.
soups and whatnot. It's like a handheld blender. What else do I like? I don't know. I don't have a ton myself. I think a rice maker would be really awesome though. I really like rice. So,
I really like I really like the gadgets that mince vegetables for you because I'm really bad at mincing. Because it's always like chop up vegetable, or it says mince vegetables, and then I chop them up. I'm like, I think this is close enough. Like, I guess this is minced. Like, I'm thinking like I don't think I could cut this smaller, but it's never actually minced.
Yeah, mincing is tough. you gotta have good knife work for that.
Yeah.
to,
You
like,
can get like pre-prepped stuff at certain grocery stores, and you know that'll. So we're like totally dead, right? Yeah, we're like super dead.
Oh,
Yeah,
we're
I'm
really
dead.
far away.
There's no possible way we're not dead, right?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Someone's shooting. Is that you?
That's Brett.
Yep.
Yeah. Not like
have,
these.
I have
We're
17
losing
health.
life.
You guys aren't turning back, so I'm definitely dead.
Brett, no. I don't have any bandages or anything, so.
Nah, it's
I have bandages.
fine. I've accepted it.
Catch up to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what would inspire you to cook? Do you think trying to cook like mom and pop
All right, just doing all
TV
the
shows?
I like macaroni and cheese.
you can get creative with that too, especially if you know your favorite kinds of cheeses. I mean, I don't know. Understanding like flavor combinations and why things taste good helps a lot
Yes.
too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because then you can just mess around with what you know. If you can, I get overwhelmed with blank slates. So
Should I use bandages
Cooking
like
can be
while I'm
tough.
running? Does that make sense? Or
I don't think
I
you
don't
can.
think you can.
Okay.
Oh, Jinx, you owe me a coat.
I mean, or should I like use it and stop and use it and then keep running, or is it better just to run?
I genuinely don't know the timing.
I really didn't think we were gonna make this, but I think we will.
Barely.
You guys should be fine. Well,
No!
30 health.
I
I'm
just
gonna try a
fell. I
bandage.
just fell like an idiot. Just go, Keith. You can make it.
win for us.
I'm gonna win it. Hey, I see
Crawling.
another guy.
Hey,
I'm
guy.
gonna come up and fuck that guy up.
Yes, get him. Mac and cheese.
Someone asked us a question earlier. Do we think life is a simulation?
No.
Yeah, I
You
don't.
say yes.
But if you did, what do you think? What would change? Do you think you'd be obsessed with finding the truth? What's life like outside the bubble?
No. I'd probably become complacent.
You'd be the guy from the Matrix that's like, the steak isn't
want
real,
a
and I
good
know it's
steak,
not real,
yeah.
but it's delicious anyway.
Yep.
And then you'd betray the whole crew and kill a bunch of people.
I would betray seriously the whole DPS crew.
It's like the steak's not real, and I know it's not real, but it's delicious. And you'd be like, yeah, but I mean, like, am I gonna kill a bunch of people for a steak?
Yeah, true.
Now you make me some pork mixed with some lime, and you get the apple slaw. Then okay, we'll talk.
Hell yeah. Then murder's on the table, but you know.
Then murder's on the table. Yeah. Man, what really happened with those Matrix sequels? That's a shame, you know?
I was too young. I don't understand
Doing
what the
a
heck those movies
Superman
were about when I
thing.
was younger.
Oh, God, Keith, no.
That's all I remember from that whole movie.
Let's do
From
this
either of those
Superman
movies.
thing. That
What?
was...
I remember like Trinity and Neo sort of like had sex at a rave or something. Is that right?
There was a rave going. I don't think they had the sex at the rave, but I don't
It
remember.
got real different.
They didn't have the
It
sex.
got real different.
I remember that. I was shocked to see that when I was like 8 in the movie.
I remember one of them, and I don't remember which one it was. Had a very bony spine. I just remember it, like it seemed like they were like focusing on how much the spine bones. I guess they, you know,
Spine.
they live in a dystopia, so maybe they're not
you
eating
feeling
a lot.
Scoliosis
Bony
sets in
spine.
early and not enough
Hey,
calcium.
get out.
Oh,
Get
my
out.
bad. I'm coming!
I just didn't want you to delay it further.
Thank you for just shouting it. Yes, that's important.
All right, I got two more
I've
pieces
gone
of-
on the whole other side.
of Blizzard game news. Two more pieces of Blizzard game news. Are you
Okay.
ready?
Yes.
Ben Brode, creator and lead designer of Hearthstone, is leaving Blizzard. And sort of seemingly out of the blue, but you know, who knows? So that's the first one. I don't know how that's going to change the game, or like people were speculating on why he left, but you know, who really knows? Like maybe he left because it got too corporate. Maybe it wasn't corporate enough because Hearthstone's always been pretty corporate. I mean, the game has been getting better. Like quests are rewarding more gold. They're also easier to complete. Like they made it so that you couldn't get duplicate legendaries anymore, like stuff like that. They've been making it better. So who knows? Maybe he's just bored. I wouldn't blame him. Like he wanted to, he created a game. He probably didn't sign on to be like executive. Like a game runner is probably significantly more boring than a game maker. So I think he's probably just, by what he wrote on his Twitter, it sounds like maybe he's just going to go do something else. So that's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how the game changes. Probably not very much.
Wait, can I follow up on that thought?
Yeah, please do.
So I work at a large company that has a lot of vertical and horizontal movement. So I just want to comment on this because I think it's typical to assume the worst. And I think, while I'm not saying this is definitely the case, I think people need to give more credit to the fact that maybe he was just either bored and or wanted a change. I think that's very common, and I think people are very quick to assume, like, oh, he was sick of the management at Blizzard's terrible. Maybe, but, like, I think a lot of people change jobs all the time.
As soon as you mention that, I'm like, man, I've changed jobs like several times in a very short career.
Yeah, and it has nothing to do with animosity. It could be like a personal location strategy desire. It could be anything, and those are way more likely than him fighting with management. And especially at larger companies, I assume, like Activision Blizzard, there's a lot of turnover for like consultants and stuff. But someone at his level, they don't just huff and leave. It's always amicable, and if it's political, then they've played their cards and they leave. It's not like burn all your bridges and get out of here because I hate this place. So I don't know. I usually like to just imagine that they found a better opportunity. They wanted to diversify. He got what he needed from Blizzard, which was an insanely powerful set of skills that look great on his resume, and he could go anywhere he wants now with that. He not only did he build a game from the scratch, which was basically like a side job, but then he built it into something even bigger, and he did that. He was the first guy that did that. So he was the guy that did that for this game. So like he could go and do anything he wants. So maybe he's done now. I don't know. I'm not Mr. Pro Corporate here, but that's just my experience with turnover.
No, I totally agree with that. I think not being creatively fulfilled in a position you've been in for that long is totally like warranted, and it's fine, and it shouldn't say anything against the work that he's done either.
I mean, you have to imagine this is a guy who
he's a human.
I think he was like working on. I think he was working on some other Blizzard game when he just made Hearthstone and was like, showed his boss. He was like, "Hey, look at this," And it was completely different at the time. Then he goes to like some trading guard convention, and he shows it off there in its early state. It was like much more complicated. I think it was like a very complicated game, and then changed it a ton. And so this is a guy who had a full-time job and built a game like in his spare time because he was bored. So like, who would be surprised that if after running a game that's, in the stages of iteration, he just felt like having a change or something like that. It wouldn't be surprising at all. That's a great point.
And I think a lot of people who are either looking for a job or have never been employed, fulfillingly employed, I should say, just assume that when you find a job that you like, that you would stay at it forever. And things change quickly. He made the game, it progressed, it did well, and do you think he thought that would happen when he initially made it? Probably not. And now he got to like a higher level position, was like, I don't think I want to do it like this anymore. I don't know. Yeah. It's very normal. Damn it.
And he made a really cool game from scratch with he had Blizzard behind him, but he had to win the support of people at Blizzard. Whereas now he's got he's like Jeff from the Overwatch team. He's like the face of Hearthstone. So he's got, people know him very well now. So like he could, if he wanted to, he could make his own game studio and do a great job. He probably people would give him a shot, give whatever he makes a shot. So if that's, and he's good at making indie games. So if that's what he wants to do, then he'd be great at that. If he wants to go somewhere else, he could probably write his own ticket. But yeah, so, more power to him.
And I'm not saying that was definitely the case. All I'm saying is people always assume the worst. It's more like
Yeah.
50-50. So why bother trying to guess?
And also,
Yeah.
can you imagine being the face of a community with so much vitriol as well? Can you imagine?
Oh my god, yeah.
That's-
People, yeah. Hey, all
probably
these
good
all
to
these
want that
people
fame.
on the subreddit speculating why he left. It must be Blizzard management. Did anyone stop and think that maybe it's fucking us? Because we are awful about 50% of the time at least.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Should be ashamed.
It's true.
Maybe it's all the people saying that Blizzard is too corporate.
Yeah,
Things
right.
like that, you know. Accusing him of only wanting to make money.
Anyway, I'm sorry for derailing. What's the next piece of news?
No, that's fine. I was just gonna say the other thing is that there are like a lot of like different buffs and nerfs going on. Like Lucio's getting some crazy buff. It's on the PTR right now. A lot of people say like, oh, it's only on the PTR, but generally stuff that's on the PTR makes it. You know, like it's not. I don't know. Like it makes it, or it makes it. Maybe they'll, if it's too extreme, they'll nerf it a tiny bit, and then still push it out. So basically now he can just like indefinitely ride on any wall ride, and he goes around corners and stuff.
Oh,
So that's pretty cool. That's an interesting change to Overwatch. But the biggest change, there's several other things like nerfs to Junkrat and some other stuff. But the biggest thing by far is that they have Hanzo's rework finally done, and it's you know what they mentioned. He's got several things. First of all, his arrows go a lot faster now. He's got a horizontal leap, so it's like Genji's double jump, but you can go in a direction in midair. So like you jump and then you can like dive, like out of midair, you can like dive back the other way, and it's a pretty cool ability. It's better for getting to the point faster. It's good for like distancing yourself from, you know, people who would get up close to him and then kick his ass, like Tracer, Doomfist, or Reaper, or people like that. And it's great for like peeking a corner, like you hop a corner, let an arrow go, and you dive back the previous direction, like without even touching the ground. So that's really cool. And then he's also they got rid of scatter arrow, which people hated, and they replaced it with there's someone on the roof here, so you'll probably get in a fight pretty quick. They replaced it with it's called storm arrow, or storm bow, or something like that. The bow itself is called storm bow, so I think it's called storm arrow. And what that does is it loads up like 6 arrows actually. It was originally 5 and they upped it to 6 because they do want this to be a buff. Like that's their goal. They know they have to get rid of an extremely powerful ability that he has that people hate. So basically that's what they're doing. And they're trying to do that while still buffing him because he's a character that needs to be buffed. So that's what's going on. And basically what the ability does is it'll slot up those 6 arrows, like I said, and then you can shoot them off instantly, and they're at full power. I mean, they're like fully drawn arrows or something like that. So you could just, someone's up close, you could just smash the button and release like a bunch of arrows all at once, or you could like you have some time, like it's like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, where you can go like arrow, arrow, arrow. So you can take time and try to aim them, and I think it's probably the best way to do it. And you can, I don't know, like it can put out a ridiculous amount of damage. They're not exactly full power; they're slightly less than a normal arrow, but like people are saying, you can do, if you hit every arrow, you can do an insane amount of damage. If you headshot every arrow, which is obviously fucking impossible, but you can do an absolutely insane amount of damage. So I'm excited. You know, I don't know if it's going to be a buff or a nerf, but like different people are saying different things on the subreddit, and I think most people are saying it's a buff, but I kind of expected they would regardless. They would complain about it. But
it just sounds very different.
Yeah, I'm just excited because it's different. It's one of my favorite heroes, and he's going to be totally different now. So, and the thing that I like is like I don't care what they do to him, as long as it doesn't dumb him down. It doesn't like reduce his skill ceiling. And it doesn't. Like people are saying like homing arrows or like explosive arrows, and I was like, I don't know. I don't want to like just make him like easy. Like, I don't think that's the right solution. And so many of the other changes that they've made have just buffed really easy heroes. And it's at a point where like I don't think that in Masters League, Junkrat and Mercy should be better than Genji and Ana, and they are. Like the best players of the game are still do better with the lowest skill floor heroes in Masters League, and I think that's unfortunate because that means there's literally no time where anybody should ever be playing Ana or Genji. That's not true. Genji does okay, but Ana's terrible.
Well, that's why they go by play rates and win rates, and they have to look at it at all levels and not just the pro levels.
Exactly, and it's hard to balance. But I'm just glad that he's gonna stay. He's gonna be more interesting now than he was previously. And if he seems worse, then the solution will just be to like practice more and figure out how to use his abilities. And so I'm looking forward to that. And that's how the cookie crumbles.
So you're talking about the skill floor for Genji, or not Genji, Hanzo, and I thought like everybody disliked him because they felt that scatter arrows made him too easy. But I mean, I disagree with that. I'm just saying, wasn't that the common trope? Everyone would be like, scatter arrows, blah blah blah.
Yeah, exactly. They're like,
one hit
it's too
kill.
Overpowered. And it was like too overpowered for like I think it was a very powerful ability on a hero with a very weak kit. So I think that was the main issue.
Is his ultimate the same? I forgot if you said that.
Yeah, ultimate's the same. I wouldn't mind seeing that ultimate get changed a little bit. I think it's pretty difficult to get kills with that, and you compare it to other things like other DPS alts.
Maybe it's that way. Just it kind of sacrifices well because there are like more crowd control heroes that you can synergize with. Or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. You can synergize it with another alt or something like Zarya's or Mei's or something like that.
How's Mei
I think
doing?
it would be cool. Mei's doing a lot better. They buffed her. They made her freeze happen a lot faster. They think they increased the width of her alt, and some different things like that. And she's significantly better. Sombra is significantly better. And it was an interesting rework that they did for her. Like she, hacks. She's a hacking stealth character, and they like made her able to use some of her abilities more often. They made her. I think they like increased her damage a little bit or something like that, or maybe they just decreased the spread on her gun. They made it so like you can't try to hack people as often, but when you do, her hack ability is way better. Like now it'll make a Pharah drop out of the sky. Lucio can't wall ride. Genji and Hanzo can't climb walls. Mercy can't use her so no one can use movement abilities anymore. And when you're deciding whether or not you can like secure a kill, that's huge. And the second thing they did, which was an interesting rework, is that now if someone was at low health, you'd see them through walls as Sombra. Now, if anybody has been hit at all, you can see them through walls. And that's pretty wild. Like people weren't, I mean, it's definitely a buff, but it's interesting because before people would use that to find weak heroes and pick them off. Now you don't know whether they're weak. Actually, maybe there's slight differences in their silhouette or something, but it's harder to tell whether they're weak or how weak they are. So you don't know that you're going to get an easy kill for sure, but you have so much more information, so you can get on mic and maybe like call out where people are. So it really makes her a lot more interesting. It was a significant buff to her. She's doing a lot better, which put Hanzo securely in last place in terms of win rate.
And people still complain about him.
I'm not seriously. I'm not expecting a big like increase right away because it's going to increase his skill cap. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think over time it'll go up. And I think he'll be fun to play. But don't try to play him in competitive in the short term, or people will probably yell at you.
What an exciting week, even though, Keith, you're the only one that's been really playing anything new.
Plangons?
Plangons. But I think that's about time to wrap up the podcast. We'll stick around and finish this match, and I don't know if you guys want to play some more or not, but we'll end this here for the VOD viewers. But thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next week. It's Damage for Second Podcast signing out.
Bye.
Goodbye.